And I think it's just amazing that we can offer it on Zoom, on YouTube, you know, even in person, all at the same time. Okay, so we are live on YouTube now.
Meredith,
What'd you say, Hemant?
I just said hello to Meredith.
Oh.
I'm gonna turn off the camera while I munch on dinner. But
Don't worry, do your thing. You do what's comfortable. Do what's comfortable to you.
And that's funny. I don't know if you heard Hemant was just saying it's a hard time. People getting home from work, eating dinner.
And it doesn't bother me unless it's something very tasty that I can't have.
I'm liable to just dribble it down my face. So
Okay, I'll have to practice my emptiness at that point and say it does not exist.
there you go.
Don't you just love it?
Hello, Carmen.
Hi.
Ooh, that's some echo.
I know.
I think it's, are you and Paul in the same room?
Yes.
Yeah, one of you needs to mute while the other one's talking.
You don't know how to mute. Oh.
That echo is always tricky. I don't know if y'all can hear, my Amazon Dot is named Echo. And I said that Echo is always tricky, and Echo started talking.
Today's digital world.
Echo's on the table back there.
Sue just joined.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
Sue.
Hello.
Hello.
We have 2 more minutes, I think, and then we can get going. Linda, any more words on Kensho Rinpoche?
You're muted, Linda. Even you.
Thank you. He has a second interview on the 28th about his visa. And so, you know, even at that point, we might know something then, or it might be another few weeks. So we're just.
And it's a very normal process in India to go for second call.
Mhm.
I have many relatives that have to do that, so I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're, you know, at this point, we're not worried. We're just in a holding pattern. So as Donna says, keep saying those Tara mantras to remove obstacles. Thank you for asking.
Just let me know, Linda, when you want me to start, okay?
Yeah, we've got a couple people joining right now, so let's give it one more minute.
Okay. Hello,
Yeah.
Dinesh.
Hi, Owen. Hi, Barbara. I'm guessing Patty's on as well. Oh, there's Michael.
Good evening.
Good
Hello,
evening,
Michael.
everybody.
Hi, Herman. Hi, Linda.
Hello, hello. And hello to the folks on YouTube. We have several who have joined us on YouTube already.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Luzita is on. Hello, Luzita.
Hi. And Tara's joining. And here's Nico, and then we can probably go ahead and start.
Okay. Hello, Dinesh. I can see you now. And Luzita, hope everything is okay with you, Luzita.
Yep, everything great. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you.
And
All
hello.
right.
Let's see, Chitra and Dante are on YouTube. They say hello.
Chitra, how are you, Chitra? Geshe-la calls it Chitamatra. That's one of the traditional schools, Chitamatra, mind-only school.
All right, so whenever you're ready, Heyman, we can go ahead and start.
All right, so welcome to session 3 of 5 for module 12, Wisdom of Emptiness. And again, my email is there. I just wanted to again let you know that I've gotten emails, and at least for the first time, they went into my spam folder. So as I was trying to clean them out, I said, aha, one here, like that. So please, I apologize if I didn't get back to you right away, but I will eventually. So before the class starts, the next class, I will get back to you if you have any questions, and there's my email address, okay? And it's not a bad idea in the subject matter if you put down module 12 student or something like that, so I can identify them, because you get so many junk mails and then you're going through it and you can recognize them. So thank you for that. So anyways, to start today, I know some of you had jobs and work and a busy day. So it's better to just bring ourselves down. And so we'll start first with the 3 prostrations, at least if not in real time on the floor, you can do a mental offering. It is always good to humble oneself. And basically you are saying, I want these teachings. I want to learn this. The channels for you. Mental, if you can do it, do it inside.
Heyman, if you can hear me, again, Heyman, if you can hear me, you are frozen. I don't know if that's from my side only or from yours. It looks like, where did Heyman go? Turned off the video. Was anyone else experiencing Heyman being frozen? Okay. So we'll see if he's going to maybe sign off and sign back in.
Hear me?
Yes, it's just a little. Speak again, Heyman, and we'll see if we can hear you. You're muted though.
Okay, hold on. Take a look at that. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think I'm okay, but I see everybody now.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Everybody now. Can you hear? There it is.
Mhm. Yeah, your video keeps freezing and your audio is choppy. You might want to try signing out and then come back on, Hemant. You
Okay.
keep freezing. Yeah.
1 second, okay?
Okay, thanks. Thanks everyone for your patience with technology. If you are watching and joining us on YouTube, Hemant is just signing off and signing back on. See if he can get a better connection. Thanks, Meredith. Yeah, I'll let him know. Hi, Hemant. So, Hemant, you are muted, but you're still freezing.
Okay,
It
I
may-
am. Go ahead.
It may be if you turn off your video, down there next to the mute button that says stop video.
Mhm.
The only thing is I try to screen share now. I I don't know if you can screen share if your video's off. So let's try it.
Can you allow me to share?
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, now try. Oh, good. We can see your screen. So let's give this a try for a little while, and we won't be able to see you, Hemant, but at least we'll be able to see your slides and hopefully hear you better.
That's okay. That's okay. I think this is a good example of listening skills.
True. And
Right.
being flexible on things being impermanent.
I'll turn the video on in a few minutes and see if it works. If not, this will be the way we'll go, but we'll continue.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely can hear you better. So.
Okay. So at this point in time, let's get ourselves in a position to do a quick calm abiding meditation, okay? So you all are familiar with how to keep your back straight. If you're seated on the floor, of course, you can be in a lotus position, half a lotus position. If you're seated in a chair, keep your feet down. Your arms are relaxed. Your hands, your right hand is on top of the left, and your thumbs are touching each other. The head is in a meditative poise, so slightly tilted. Easy on the jaws, keeping your tongue on the top of your palate behind the teeth. And your eyes, the yogi suggests that you keep it slightly open, but if you can't, you may close it. It's simply there so that you don't fall asleep. Okay. And we again focus on our breath. For each inhalation and exhalation, simply count in your mind silently. 1, inhale and exhale. 2, inhale, exhale. And just do about 9 of those for right now. And the point is that you keep your attention onto your breath. If your mind starts to wander, observe, but just don't get entwined into it. And you bring your attention back to the breath. Okay, so we'll set our motivation. Okay. So the wind of the autumn and the soft puffy clouds are moving, but the space stands still. I would like us to meditate right now, and we'll do a little bit of breathing practice, and then we will just relax. So let your relaxed mind be like a space that is standing still. And then the thoughts that arise in it, like are the energetic activity of autumn outside. And the reason for this is to get a perspective of thoughts as thoughts are arising within your mind, including the thought I. This is but one of the energetic goings on in this apparently space-like changeless essence. The breathing practice we'll do is a 9-round breathing practice. You've seen Lamola and or Geshe-la teach you this. And what you're doing is you take your right hand and you put it on your right nostril, okay? And you breathe with your left side all the way in, and then you move your finger to the left nostril and exhale out of the right one. That's the 3 times you do that. Then the next one you do is you take your left hand, then close your left nostril and breathe through the right nostril, and then put your finger onto the right one and then exhale out of your left one. You do that 3 times. And then the 3rd time, you breathe in and breathe out from both nostrils. Okay, so if you can just do that. Now bring your attention inside. Just leave the mind inside and relaxed. And simply observe your thoughts. Simply watch them without any expectations. You don't have to analyze anything. Just relax and be aware. Mental activity may occur, but notice that it is going on in a changeless inner space. So go ahead. As with the meditation we just went through, determine to build on whatever insight through this meditation until you reach the perfection of wisdom and compassion. Imagine how wonderful it will be to lead all living beings from their misery by the means of this attainment. And let's bring your attention back to the class. So plan for today. I'll cover very quickly something on topic of ignorance and personal identity. Again, some few more definitions and the 4-point analysis. We'll go through the first point and there are some things to discuss there. We'll do a little meditation on I, then we'll try and cover points 2 and 4. And then time permitting, we'll go through dependent arising a little bit. And then there's an ending meditation that is on 4-point analysis and making the connections, okay? And then we'll dedicate. So that's where we are. Okay. So I think we've already discussed a little bit about ignorance. Now you've seen the word ignorance, even in the 12-point, the links, the 12 links I was going to say, that everything starts from the ignorance. And we've said words like ignorance is the root cause of all the problems and our birth and death and aging cycle, samsara, because we can't get rid of the root delusions caused by ignorance. So we kind of know mentally something about ignorance. We don't know how the reality is. So we've used these words, but we're going to go a little deeper into it today. So if you were to just take a look at it right now, so, ignorance that is a root of cyclic existence is not a mere lack of knowledge. So it's not like I don't know what a car is. I don't know what a glass is. Or I don't know what a table is. That's not that kind of ignorance. We are talking about an active misconception about the way things exist. Okay, so think about that for a second. So you know that we depend upon our mental facilities, right? Our intelligence to survive. But we also know that we can be fooled. How many times you've seen sometimes, you sit in a car next to another car and the other car is moving and you feel like your car is moving all of a sudden. It happens in the train sometimes. Or a bush is moving and you think, oh, somebody's moving right now. So you can see that you can be fooled sometimes. And so what the teaching is all about is it is natural to apprehend things the way that they appear first. And they could be caused by superficial causes. You can have external conditions, just like the examples I gave you about sitting in a car and you think your car is moving when the other car is moving, for example. Or you think, oh, I saw something all of a sudden, it's just a shadow, okay? Or it could be an internal condition. When you fall ill, for example, your mind may not work, if you're hallucinating, if you're schizophrenia, so many things we can go through, mental illnesses and all that could cause an internal situation where you're not able to comprehend things properly. And of course, the strong emotions. Now think about even the word anger. That's a strong emotion. You just think about you are calm and collected right now, you get into an argument, and there's an angry fit. You totally lose the concept of who you are or what the other person is. You want to just hurt somebody, or you want to just destroy somebody. And you've seen the examples of extreme emotional distress where people have, young children have gone with machine guns and killed people in Uvalde. Right? Sandy Hook. That is an extreme nature of anger. Right? So, and sometimes we'll even fill in the gaps. For example, when somebody's talking to you, you don't listen carefully. We already kind of assume what they're going to say. We want to fill in the words, right? And it may not be accurate. So we are already preparing to respond back, right? So things like this happen all the time. We do it on a very normal basis. We have some level of hatred. Sometimes we get angry. Sometimes we see things that are not there. And it could be internal factors, could be external factors, could be an extreme emotion. So what it's trying to say is our pride may not let us acknowledge or admit our ignorance. We think we are the right one. We are doing the right thing. Or we are too lazy to research the correct information. What we are leading to is, as we go deeper into understanding the nature of emptiness, the nature of reality, you need to do some fact finding. If you were to slow down and listen to the person and not fill in the gap and not be ready for response and listen in, you might get some facts. You may even take a moment and pause, put your thoughts together, and then respond back. That is a little better way of dealing with it than to just open your mouth and start talking before listening into the person. That happens all the time, right? So the whole point here is that whenever you are trying to understand how reality is and how to look at it factually, you have to apply some level of logic, okay? And understand that as soon as you have this ignorance prevailing in you, then all the afflictions we're talking about, attachment. Oh, I'm angry because he or she did not listen. I don't like this person or what he's saying or she's saying, without even understanding, not realizing that everybody has a right in their own mind and their own delusions. But we jump to it, anger. Oh, look at the politics today, the hatred. right? All this is all created by ignorance. Okay, so before we dive into it, it's important to understand just the basic concept of what ignorance is. The good thing is the mind can improve with use. And by knowing the ultimate nature of reality, you can get rid of the ignorance. You can cut it from the root. And that is the point of learning about the emptiness. Okay, so that's the point. So then let's talk about personal identity. So in this section, we describe, for example, a little example, how we die and are reborn and what happens in between those two events without going too lengthy in it. For example, when a person dies and before he or she is reborn, they may see their old body. This is like a bardo intermediate state. They may even see it. But they do not recognize it according to the teachings. They do not recognize it as their body as they see their old dead body. And so what happens is the new body is like a body you have in a dream, they say. In this state between the death and rebirth, your identity is created by the new activity that replaces the activity of the previous life, which is fading and forgotten and no longer relevant. So the between state person is going through an entirely different state of being. So he or she then strongly identifies with the new experience, and they are here, and their previous body is over there, and they no longer identify with it. So the point here is that our self-identity is based on our mind that is clinging onto the attachments of that point in time, right? So then the question is, who are we really then? So if I were to ask every one of you to raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, and you were asked just one question, who are you? What would you say? Okay, you will say, I am Linda, I am Hemant, I'm Carmen, I'm Dinesh. Is that who you really are? That is simply a name. Does that identify you? Okay, I'll take my license out. Here it is. Does that tell you who you are, really? Think about it for a second. It's just a piece of paper with a picture. So what it's saying is, when a self-image stands out as the one you identify strongest with, or is the most habitual, you will hold to that one thinking, this is me. Okay? So even before you pass on, or when the time comes to die, this requires to generate such an image when we die. Of course, it's helped by our outer circumstances or environment and our inner disposition, how we are thinking all the time. You know, we have this continuous thoughts. You know the good ones, the bad ones that continuously run in your head. And the point Buddha is saying is, this is why we want to create a virtuous environment. Develop a positive mindset. And, you know, so even according to Thupten Pende, who put this syllabus together, says that, of course, there is a fear of not knowing what's going to become of you and where you're going to go. But the skillful practitioners, even if they haven't achieved liberation, wisdom, they build upon and acquire confidence that they will take a good rebirth by means of their merit. So what you're developing this mindset of a good, virtuous being. And when you develop that mindset, guess what comes up predominantly when you are in a sort of that state? Those thoughts will come up. So whatever you practice is what's going to come up in general. Whatever is your natural habit of thinking is what's going to come up. And that's why a lot of these yogis and sages and monks, they will generate the thought of refuge. And they're pretty confident that they will have a better, potentially the next life. Okay, so again, the point is, slowly we are going into emptiness here. I always want you to think in your terms, what does this have to do with emptiness? And see where some of these things fit in. You can at least take from this that as we think about seeing the way things are, liberating your mind from ignorance, creating a virtuous state of mind, a positive state of mind, you come to some fact finding and are able to see what needs to be changed, how you have to identify how things are, how things really exist. And the good thing is you can change. You already know things are causes and conditions are, of course, there, but things are impermanent. Things are changing. And that's why you can make this effort to change your mind. Okay, so if something already, this will help you. It's like a therapy, isn't it? If you have something happens at work and you are upset for the day, you can kind of think through it and say, oh my goodness, why am I getting so upset? Let me sit on it, and it will slowly go away. And next morning, you may not feel so hurt. But if you hold and harbor negative thoughts, guess what? You'll make it up to the point where you'll blurb something negative out. Now 2 people are upset, and it goes and it expands and compounds. So that's the beginning of this, okay? So I want to tell you that we always talk in Buddhism about, we talk about how ignorance works, how the first noble truth is dukkha, suffering, which means a different word. In Sanskrit, dukkha is not purely suffering. It has a very wide, anything from worse pains to headaches, to aging, to sicknesses, to illness, all of those things kind of come with the word dukkha. We are in samsara, these things are going to happen. So what is the goal? What are you yearning for? So here's the good news, right? We all know our mind is clear. It is knowing. Okay, it wants to know. It is not physical. But the good news is we all have Buddha potential. Okay, Buddha said that himself. And so here's your resume. You want to become Buddha. You want to be liberated. You want to be happy. So what does that look like? So take a look at it and see a Buddha that is omniscient and omnipotent. So what does omniscience mean? If you were to translate the Tibetan word, it stands for accurate cognition. That means literally knowing everything. That's the nature of mind. It wants to know. But think of a perfect, pure mind. It's fully aware. Okay? To perfectly see the minds of others and seeing things as they are. Recognizes, fully understands emptiness, is in emptiness. Full awareness. Second piece, from the compassion side of the world, there's omnipotence, which is infinite power, the effortless ability to do whatever needs to be done, has infinite compassion. So think these words now, a wisdom that knows exactly what and how, where and when, and who, and then capacity to do what needs to be done to perfectly benefit all beings, all knowing, all compassionate, all wise, all pervading. And Buddha says we have that potential. So I thought we'll start with the good news, right? Because we are so tired of listening to if this is not right and if this is not right and the way you feel pain and all this kind of stuff. So think about it, why you're doing this. Why are you trying to understand this? And what are you liberating from? If you don't have that fundamental, your basement or foundation set, then whatever you build on it, it will not make sense. What am I learning all this jargon for? And this is what you're trying to learn. And the best thing Geshe-la says is, as you learn, you try to absorb some of these things, make it part of your life. So that's the point, okay? So I wanted to let you at least get, this is from another class I teach, and so I wanted to make sure that I bring this up because I want to make sure that we know why are we doing this. I'm going to use this.
Hey, Mitt, sorry to interrupt you, but your audio sounds great now. So I was wondering if you could try turning on your video and we'll just see how it goes.
Okay, let me see. I'm on.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, just
So
let
far,
it be.
so good.
Yep, let it be. So this word I put today in definition is because I'm using it. And I wanted to make sure people don't get lost. Remember in the first class, I said sometimes these words are deep enough where you don't even know the meaning and I've already moved forward and you're trying to think what is it that he said. So I want to, so you can keep up with the class. And you'll find some names like Dharmakriti and Chandrakriti and all this, and they were known as epistemologists. So it's good to know what that means. It's the theory of knowledge, especially with regards to its methods and validity. When you logically look at some things and the scope of things, and you want to make sure it's investigating what distinguishes justified belief from opinion. So when you justify something, you use this kind of logic. That's epistemology. Dharmakriti is the Buddhist philosopher from Nalanda, one of the key scholars of epistemology. He built upon the work of another scholar, Dignaga, a pioneer of Buddhist logic. You don't need to remember all these things, but we will use Dharmakriti's thoughts. And so I wanted to make sure you understand it. And he was a 7th century scholar and author of the 7 treatises of the valid cognition. And he's one of the 6 great Indian scholars known as the 6 ornaments. So when I saw that in the definition, the 6 ornaments, now I had to think, what are the 6 ornaments? So I put it down in the bottom. So these are the 6 Indian scholars, Nagarjuna, Aryadeva, Asanga, Vasubandhu, and Dignaga, and Dharmakriti, who together with the 2 supreme ones, the names are there, Gunaprabha and Shakyaprabha, they wrote extensive commentaries on Buddha's teachings. And they were scholars, so they logically put these commentaries together so we can learn from that. So it's important that we know that. Okay, not an important thing to memorize, remember, copy, anything, just to be aware when you use these words that epistemology is looking at investigating how valid something is, right, and justify it. So that's just the logic. Okay. So you heard Geshe-la in the last Sunday class, if you were attending his class, that they've used the 4-point analysis in the past for many years. And it's found to be very helpful for people. It's had some very positive results of understanding the nature of self. So we are going to talk about that today, okay? But I have a little preface to make. So what I did for those people who have been reading their reading material, I took few excerpts and few from Lama Zopa Rinpoche's, the reading title is How to Meditate on Emptiness. I don't know if anybody's got a chance to read it. But as I was reading it, I said this would be such a good way, because when you get into logic, it sometimes is a little dry and you can lose the context very easily. And to keep your connection with the topic of emptiness and why this is necessary, it is important that I go through some of this language that Lama Zopa Rinpoche has put together. So I'm going to read that slowly, and then we'll take some pauses, okay? But before we go on, people remember the meaning of the aggregates. We defined that in the second class. What are the aggregates? Anybody wants to take a stab at it?
If you want to take a stab at it, feel free to unmute.
They're the skandhas.
Mm-hmm.
So your senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, also thinking or thoughts and feelings.
Okay, very nice. The way they describe the 5 aggregates that includes everything you said would be a psycho-physical constituents that make up a sentient being. Okay, so mental and physical things that make up a sentient being. That would be form, which is, you can see the form, feelings, discriminative awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness. Compositional factors are all the things that don't fall, with the exception of feeling and discriminative awareness, there are 51 mental factors. So you have to think of the 49 others that fit into these compositional factors. And just to name you a few, that intention, contact, aspiration, mindfulness, meditative stabilization, in good virtuous ones like faith, shame, embarrassment, non-attachment, it goes on. So there are 51 of these things that constituents that make up our mental picture, our constituents of who we are. Okay, so those are the 5 aggregates. It's important to know that, because if we will talk about in this meditation the aggregates, or Lama Zopa Rinpoche would say, well, let's look for something on the aggregates. Does it exist over there? So at least you know that it is all the mental factors and the physical factor, the form. So again, form, feeling, discriminative awareness, compositional factors, which I just mentioned, there's plenty of them, and consciousness itself. Those are the 5 aggregates, okay? So knowing that, I'm going to say a few words here. So before we start this 4-point analysis, I thought this would be very helpful. So we've already discussed the I, the object of ignorance. We've talked about it, that we have this inherent feeling that there is something very concrete in me. I kind of feel that, okay? So we kind of talked about that. The ignorance does not think of the body as, or mind as objects. It sees that I existing from its own side. That's what Lama Zopa Rinpoche says. We think it's this independent, concrete thing on its own. So we think that there is more than just merely labeled I. We're not talking about the I, that is, I am sitting, I am reading. We say that conventionally to talk with each other. We all accept that, right? When if Linda or Dinesh or Carmen or somebody says, hey, I have a question, I know that this person has a question. So conventionally we agree, but it's a merely labeled I for conventional purposes. We are talking about when you touch, when somebody says, you stupid, now what happens to your chest? You feel that something jump up here, okay? Or you get a big accolade, aha. That I that pops up, that's the I he's talking about. So we're saying you cannot contradict. Okay, so we agree that our name is a label. So then it is obvious that it is dependent on the thought labeling it. We already we can understand that. But you cannot contradict it. But you still naturally feel that there is not just merely labeled name, Hemant or Linda or whoever, but rather there is something more, something else. Okay. That is the I that you should realize as empty. Okay, or we can make an effort to at least negate it. We're going to look for it. So now we've just mentioned it winds up with 2 I's. There's an I that does not exist, that feeling in the chest that we are going to go after, and there's an I that is relative or nominal that is labeled, that I. That's why they say we exist relatively, but we don't exist intrinsically. We'll kind of slow on this. I know that this is where people's mind get twisted, and you need to allow a little pause to think through it. And obviously, for some people, this will come like, I get it. And for other people, it will be like, I still don't get it. I still see a package here as I. That's okay. We'll look for that I in a few minutes. But I think it's important to see this distinctions and kind of allow yourself to filter these thoughts. Okay? So just the name. If I didn't have a name, who was I? There's no Hemant there. You got to go through some process. Then we go through those 12 links and say, I have a name. Therefore, there's a little I popping up. Oh, Hemant is a good boy, a bad boy. So there's a little bit of a pleasure thought, a neutral thought, then a little bit of contact, then senses. Then we start to cling and grasp because I want more pleasure. I want that and I don't want that. So you can see the 12 links in play, but merely labeled I is simply merely labeled. The other I is what we feel inside when somebody says, you idiot, or you stupid, or at the same, or you have a fear, or some strong desire. That I is what we are looking for. So, but for someone who has meditated on emptiness or shunyata and has realized the independent and truly existing I as empty, that meditator does not need particular conditions to recognize the object of negation. I wanted to particularly use this word because the first 4-point analysis is identifying the self or a person as it is misconceived by ignorance. And that's what we have to identify exactly what is it that you're refuting. If you can't get there, then you are not going to be able to refute it. You got to see it. What is that I am trying to say does not exist? So you got to say, if I say this glass is not there, then I need to look at that glass, then I can analyze how is it not there. I can see it, right? So you need to have that clearly in your mind. So that's why I'm reading this. Therefore, that independent I is the object of ignorance, which does not think body and mind as objects. It sees I existing from its own side or intrinsically, so as that appearance of truly existent I rises, so does the fear, attachment, all that arises, which I just talked about, how that I then wants everything, right? This experience comes from our habit from beginningless times, past lives, of seeing appearances and reality all mixed up. So the merely labeled name, the appearances we create, this I that is now developed over samsaric lifetimes, we mix it all up and saying this entire package is I. That's why we cannot differentiate it sometimes, okay? So gotta think through that. It's a habit that always feels that, and it's been going on, and it says it's not easy to get rid of, but you can at least calm down, or you can at least intellectualize it, at least at this moment in time. So it says here, we see all appearances as truly existent, like when you see the table, when you see the tree, when you see the car, when you see each other, you see them like, there it is, right? That we think it exists from their own side, and then we merely label, we get them all mixed up. It's our habit. And that then we completely believe that it really exists. So in conclusion, one must realize that there is no I that is intrinsic or from its own side. On your aggregates, in other words, your form, feelings, awareness, consciousness, nowhere you will find an intrinsic I. It is simply in control by the name. Okay, so just kind of hang in there for a while. And if you attended Geshe-la's teachings on Sunday, he mentioned this too, again, that we will be going through it today. So with that, we're going to try to look at this now. So you must first identify, if you came up with that feeling that I understand I is not my head and I is not my hand, but this whole package, body and mind, is all I. You kind of feel that way. If you can see it that way and you feel it that way strongly, that's the I you want to recognize. And that's the I we're going to try and refute or negate. If you already see the I as not intrinsic and it does not exist, then you're fine. But at least in this case, we want to recognize what is it you're refuting. And it says here that you analyze, one is grasping onto this I and the identity of the person as misconceived by ignorance. That's the I we are going to be looking for. The second point is deciding that such a person is not fine. Okay, deciding if the person existed in that way, it is misconceived, and if it is misconceived, then it must be findable, either in relationship to this body-mind complex, as I just told you, or independently. And know that if you don't understand how the I exists, then no matter what logic you use, you're going to have a hard time, because our mind feels that I strongly. So you need to think through this and filter and tread lightly and understand it, that what is it that I am trying to negate. Now, we already know things are impermanent. We are here through causes and conditions, and things are changing as we speak. We momentarily, the moment in time, we give something a name and we see that as existing. But in things, if you really look through your body, what is that I? Is it your eyes and nose and eyes and blood cells and leukocytes or whatever you want to call it? And you start to easily vaporize very quickly, but there is something we perceive. So there is, you do exist conventionally, but there is nothing intrinsic about it. And this is very important to know, because when you see the environment, the phenomena around you, all phenomena are just like that. You can see something solid, but also know that it is dependent on causes and condition. We've given it a name and label, and now we see it that way. Not everybody will see the same thing the same way you see it. That's also a fact, and we'll go through that logic a little later on. But I wanted you to be at least be aware of that. So let's start with some good examples. I think this will have a little fun with some examples.
Hey, Mick, we have a student who would like some clarity. So first of all, did you say we exist relatively, not intrinsically?
Correct.
Okay. And then secondly, did you just say we exist conventionally, not intrinsically?
So the word relatively, nominally, conventionally are all synonymous in the fact that it is simply name and thought and the karmic mindset that has ignorance in it, and it projects everything as real, including us. And that's where the I and the ignorance is in you. So that is correct. We do come in, we do see each other, don't we? We perceive somebody, deluded or not deluded, we see that. So there is something there. But when you truly look at it from its real nature of how things are, we quickly vaporize some of that concreteness in it. That's all you need to know at this point in time. And then what we are going to do with these examples, they build upon each other at some point, or they give you different angles to think about it. And these examples are great for this logic, for the question that just came up. It will establish some of those, that words into some understanding, a little better understanding. So just a small one first, and as we go along, they get a little better, I think, in my own mind. So let's take a look at a candle flame for logic purposes. From Dharmakirti's point of view, reality and true existence are same, equivalent. Reality and true existence, when we say something truly exists, and reality, they are equivalent. Furthermore, he says that truly existent things are unique in terms of time and space. So they exist in one place at one time because they function to produce an effect that they change, or a causes that causes effects, that has an effect. So you create something which has an effect, that creates a cause that has an effect, so cause and effect type thing. So here's an example of a candle flame. You take a look at the candle flame for a second. Okay, it's simply a candle flame. The flame of this moment is not the same flame as of the previous moment, because of this flame of this moment is an effect of the flame of the previous moment. The flame of the previous moment ceased to exist when this moment of the flame arose. This is the way we want to start to think how moment to moment to moment things create causes and effect, causes and effect. It's just a mindset. The real one really starts, we talk about the cup, the infamous cup. Everybody has an example of a cup. We'll get into this a little nicely. So to build upon the flame, so there is a cup. Cup exists in one place at one time and can be characterized as being able to hold water. So let's put that picture in our mind. So then there's another concept. The word cup could mean generally a cup. There are many cups. When I say cup to you, which cup are we talking about? The cup I have, or the cup you have, or the cup somebody in San Diego has? There are many cups, right? So why is this important? It is just to put a frame of mind to start to think how we are able to distinguish facts from how we perceive things. That's the reason for this example. This is not about talking about cups and no cups and all that. So don't get into the too minutiae of it. Just listen to how we do things and how we think and how is the logic used to dismember something or disassemble something so you can get to the bottom of it. That's why we are talking about this. So the cup in general exists in many places in many times, right? When I say the word cup, you can think of all kinds of cups because you have a conventional understanding. A cup is something that is like this with a handle maybe, and it can hold a cup. We have that understanding. We are not talking about a particular cup. There are 15 cups in my cupboards. We're not talking about all 15. It's just a general word, cup. But however, if you would like to drink out of a cup in general, it's not going to help you. So this general cup that we just labeled cup is created in your thought. We agree on that, right? Your mind just says cup and it sees the cup. Though it's not in front of you, you can visualize it. So it's created by thought. It is an invention of the words. It is a concept, a creation of a thought. Simple as that. So the generalized cupness is conventionally fabricated quality. We made that. It's conventionally, we agreed upon it. We made it up. And they would call in logic that that cup really does not exist. It's simply the word cup and the cupness of it. It's simply a picture in the mind. They are not there in front of you right now. You just visualized it as a thought. But the individual cup in front of you, and if you were talking about that cup, that is a valid cognition. You're seeing it, you can drink water from it. So just hang in there with me. Western philosophy even calls this word the generalized universals. Okay, so don't worry about this word. So what they're saying is this kind of generalized words or universals are essential for language, as we can use the same term and concept for many different objects. If we did not have these universal words created or name them, then we would have to name every single cup different thing. So we have to have some conversation or some agreement that will call something like this a cup. So we have those words. However, think about it now. So although this generalized cup is everywhere, in the sense it's not there right now. It's just a thought. Okay. So let's take it further. So when you look at a cup that's occupying a space, it is unitary, it's in front of you, it is homogeneous, okay? And it's occupying that space. Or, now look at it. Are there many discrete particles occupying their individual spaces? For example, a cup is a ceramic made out of clay. Clay is a compound of many particles. So what is real thing here, the cup or the clay particles? You might say both, put it together, and that's the cup. Well, what is such a big thing about that, right? Why are you making such a big conversation out of this? Well, this implies that the cup is identical to the particle. We see how we think, we see it as a whole cup. We don't see it as particles, and those particles have atoms and electrons. We don't see it, and not necessarily, I'm just saying, we don't have that visual, so we just call it a cup. And the point here is how the name cup associated with an object, and we see something concrete. Okay, so we can say then, if the cup is made of the particles, and the particles are made of other particles and so forth, then collectively they make an appearance we associate with the term cup. This is like a group impact, I'd say. So let's take a closer look at a mistaken concept of a cup. A cup is a single thing in place where there are a multitude of particles in space. You could say that the particles in space is empty of that single thing, or the particles are empty of that single thing, the same thing. So the single cup is a fabricated misconception on the basis of an illusory appearance of a single thing And we see that as a permanent thing. It's a cup, it's a permanent cup. You don't even recognize that the atoms are changing, just like your carpet is changing, just like you are aging, just like your cells are changing. Even that cup over time is changing. Every single moment, there's activities in these atoms that's going to, at one point, the cup will be broken or gone and vanish. So it's important to know this, that how we see things and we concretize things, and how you can also see it in a different way sometimes. So just keep that in mind. The cup we think does not truly exist. If we then apprehend it as it exists. And so we need to think. It can go even further. Your mind is that way too. It's a composite of thoughts. So then you start to think, then what exists? So that's nihilism, right? Geshe-la says, oh, then you don't think like that. So what we perceive, you can see that as existing in its own right, but you need to create a mindset to see things factfully, see how it is, how things are, how we create concepts, mind, and how our emotions make these things up and flower it. If you don't like something, we can justify all kinds of things to make it look bad. If you want something, we can justify it in so many ways, because we can put so many things onto a given concept. But if you were to look at it for what it is factfully, it neutralizes that a little bit. So at least understand that, okay? So let's take a look at another example. This is a little easier, it gets better now. So everybody knows who Harry Potter is? Okay, if you don't know, think of some movie, Indiana Jones or something like that. So you've heard of Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a creation of name and thought, an imaginary character. Although that is the case with Harry Potter, you can see he lives at this summer place in summer in number 4, private drive in Midlands of England. You can visualize that if you know of Harry Potter. It sounds like he performs a function, but not in his own right, not through his own essence. The author gave him some reality and some characteristics. However, conceptually, you can see that he's there. You can visualize it in your head. You can even see his face, but he does not exist. You can see that how our mind creates a picture. We are always doing that. Okay. So there is no Harry Potter. It is simply a fictional character that your mind imputes on it, takes it in, makes it real. So it becomes real. It's a story. Okay. So for something to be true, for something to be real, its essence must be objectively established and not artificially ascribed by words and thoughts. So think of that. And then if this essence must also include ability to perform functions and to be unique in time and space. So in other words, if things are static, it needs to be doing its own thing. It doesn't change. So nothing is like that. Everything is impermanent. Everything is due to causes and conditions. It's just giving you the other side of the fact. If it is not this way, we would not be able to change. We would not be able to age. We would not be able to learn. We would not be able to change things around. That's why things are impermanent. Here's a better example. It was easy. Or mind, aha. It was made up. So we know that. Look at rainbow. Everybody's seen a rainbow? I can agree, beautiful rainbow. The rainbow is for visual consciousness. The self that we talk about. Think of it for a second.
Hey, Mitt, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again. Can you turn your video off? Your sound is starting to get choppy again.
Oh boy. One second. How do I do that? It's not, I'm not able to turn it off. Stop video, here we go. Okay, no problem. You can hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. something is going on with the AT&T, I guess. So let's rainbow. Okay, but I'm going to say that it does not exist in its own right. But Hemant, I see a rainbow. When there's certain evenings I'm driving, there's a rainbow in the sky. I can see it. So it's a mere appearance of a particular interaction of light and moisture. Is there? You can see a rainbow. Neither the light nor the moisture are the rainbow. And even the light and the moistures are like rainbows, as they also are not light or moisture. So they have their own, but a rainbow appears as soon as we give names on their own right. See rainbow as a refraction of light or a light and the moisture interaction. But you can see the entire multiple, it has all these branches of causes and conditions. Just to understand some things. Own right. They only exist through thought. Every quality that they acquire, Harry Potter, quality by thought. So you should be, at least at this point in time, it may people created some confusion in some minds, some people may understand it, but at least at this point in time, you should, what causes and conditions, we can understand causes and conditions. What is interference or dependence? How things appear by thought in our mind, and impermanence of things. These words are kind of different words, but it starts to put meaning to how we look at things and we objectify them real quick. Okay, here's another example.
Hey, man, I'm going to interrupt you one more time, or maybe not one more. We are still having a hard time hearing you. It's very choppy. And it, I'm, at least from my side, I'm just hearing little bits.
Let me ask if other people are having a problem hearing.
Everyone's shaking their head, yes.
Okay.
I think I'm still getting it though. I think I'm understanding. I'm getting, but you miss pieces of some sentences and things.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry.
But I don't think I've missed anything big yet.
So what do you think? Heyman, keep going.
Let me try for a few minutes, and if you still have a problem, then we can have to figure out and get out and come back.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I can ask Patty to turn her iPad off.
Okay, it's upstairs, but I can shut it off. But your suggestion to just log out and log back in is a good one.
Okay, turn it off.
But I'll go shut it off.
You hear me now, or it's still choppy?
We can hear you now. Seems a little
Okay.
better, actually.
Okay. So let me talk and talk me, Linda, if it gets too choppy, okay?
Okay.
It's an example from Kopan. So we've always talked about external objects, but we never thought about it this way. So Rinpoche, when the old Kopan monastery would say something insulting purposely. Okay, he would say words like, "Are you stupid or something?" Okay, just to see the sensibilities of the West. So then somebody would say that. Then he would say, "Okay, well, is it something I've said that has upset you? Is it a word?" Okay. then he will go through saying, are the consonants bothering you, or the vowels and the consonants combined bothering you? And he will say, it is your mind that is bothering. And you're trying to blame me. He was trying to just let them know how we have constructs in our own mind and emotions that we create after. Okay. There was another last example I have is, okay, you all know where North Carolina is and where Houston is, Chitra, and where Argentina is, and we know the maps. However, if the bird is flying from Texas to Mexico, does the bird know that he just crossed the border? Right? They don't. It is simply a construct of lines and pictures and documents. Where is the real border on its own? We just create that in our mind, and then we see it, and as soon as you pass that river, you are in another country. But the birds don't see that as Texas or North Carolina or Georgia. So just a different ways of looking at things. Okay, so let me go. Okay. So just know we're going to do a meditation now. Linda, still okay?
Yeah, it's still a little choppy, but it's okay. I think we're getting most of it.
Okay. So just know that you are on an individual journey. So when you pass on, you are on your own. Okay? Even if when you go to the bardo and you're reborn yourself with an experience is the results of your own actions, nobody else's. So the only one you can rely on is yourself. Why am I saying that? So we develop these qualities. When we are learning about emptiness, we want to develop these qualities. We want to develop the lifestyle. We want to develop our ability to think and express ourselves. Would it be strange not to use those capabilities on a spiritual path? To develop this mindset that liberates you. That's the whole point of this. So let's take a little bit, okay? And we'll jump onto a quick few words and into a meditation. So just, if you have a problem listening in, just stay put and hopefully you can hear me. Just get yourself in a position of meditation. And think, I am sitting here. I do not seem to be a construct like Harry Potter. I am not fictional. I exist. I am real. I perform functions. Harry Potter performs a function too, but only because the author said so, not because he actually did. But I perform functions. I speak. I move around. I cast a shadow, all these things. I do it by myself. I am real. So think about it now. Which body is sitting there? Whose body is sitting here? Is it your body that is sitting here when you think I am sitting? Thinking about your body or someone else's? Well, of course, when we usually talk about a person and say, I'm sitting here, they're referring to their own body. So now think about it. Does your body truly belong to you? Well, then, why not? Well, then, are you doing it sitting? Or are they identical? The body is certainly sitting, you are certainly sitting. Are these two sittings that are taking place or one sitting taking place? Well, you would say there is only one sitting when I'm sitting here. Even though the body is also sitting, it doesn't mean there are two sittings, there is only one sitting. So, are you identical to your body? This means the meaning of identical is to be not different in any way. Are you just your? Do the expressions, I have a body and the body has a body, have a meaning for you? They do not, because you think of yourself differently from the way you think of your body. And yet there is only one sitting taking place, not two. If the I was a real object, then it would be either identical with the body or there would have been two sitting going on. Think of it, I am sitting, but the body is not sitting. Then you are really independent from your body. If that's the case, why even bother sitting? The only way you can have one sitting and two things doing it is if one or both of those things are creation of thoughts. It is simple. I have the thought, I am sitting here, while the body is sitting. That's how it works. But is that how we feel when we think I am sitting here? Doesn't it feel a bit more than that? Don't we feel more concrete than an imaginary person invented by words in relationship to the body's posture? Don't we feel a little bit different from that? Well, I'm not the sound I. I'm not even the thought I. The thought I does not have to sit after all. But then when sitting posture of the body and the thought I am sitting appear mixed or associated, we have an indisputable activity being done by a person called I or me. So when analyzed, if you take the sound I by itself, that's not me, nor is the thought of I, me. The body is not me either. Put all these components aside, there is no me, there is no I whatsoever. So now look right where you feel yourself the most on your chest, where you can point to yourself and proclaim yourself loudly, here I am sitting in this place right now, okay? So how quickly this fantasy is dismissed like a bubble popping when you consider how different the part of your chest covered by your pointing finger or hand is from who or what you think you are. Sometimes it feels hard as right in the center of the chest, such as when somebody calls us stupid. That sensation, however, does not require a solid object to be felt. If we believe in something strongly enough, our nervous system will accommodate that belief by functioning as if it were so. Our muscles will constrict as if grabbing hold of an object tightly. Even a mime exhibits all the physical strain as if imaginary boulder he's carrying was real. We have this unfortunate habit of believing indiscriminately that objects exist as they appear. However, our mind is capable of generating appearances without any objective fact. People believe in unicorns, dragons, other fantastic creatures only because they are described with words and drawing books. Although we can imagine such things, it doesn't mean that they are real. An object may appear as if its presence was made known by sheer force of it appearing to us, like a reflection appears in a mirror to the force of an object placed in front of it. However, an object may appear through subjective rather than objective causes. It may be a creation of words or thoughts. Some people believe the objects exist in their own right because how they appear to us. But when analyzed, we discover that they may never, ever, they have never existed in that way. Not even an atom was ever really there. You believe in this real self now, and you can even give it a name. You can claim it the agent of all sorts of activity and provide it with a history, but it was never there. The Buddha said the person, ourself, never truly existed. Not even a part of it never ever really existed as a concrete entity. Simply a creation of thought and speech. It was a nominal existence established by conventions according to arbitrary but accepted rules of language. As of such, it is there. It has all kinds of qualities. It even performs functions that are conceptually attributed to it, but that self, that me, never appeared to you or anyone else to the force of its own existence. So it appears by means of words and thoughts like a fictional character, just as Harry Potter. Our mind is the magician that makes fantasy appear as real. Okay, you can bring your attention back. So that meditation was again trying to show you how concepts, words, conventions create an appearance. We take that, we solidify it, and it's necessary for language, it is necessary for the communication. We perceive those things, but when you really look in there, it's not the way it appears. Okay, that's the point. Obviously, if you're going to go into 4-point analysis, we have 10 minutes. So let me just cover the points, and then we can, we meditated on I, and we can meditate on the 4-point analysis. And maybe that will make more sense rather than going into a lot of details. I wanted to cover one more topic before we move on. So let me just start this, and then we'll do a meditation in 2 minutes here. So let's talk about dependent arising. And we'll cover this. I'll cover this in the next class in some way, shape, or form. Anything I miss, I do cover it. So we need to talk about, we've talked about everything is dependent arising, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. But before we go into meditation, I'm just going to mention it. Okay. So this is how we perceive something that is dependent arising. If it is produced from causes and conditions, like a cup we talked about, that we previously looked at. And we also know that the product or effect does not come into existence through its own power because it depends on causes and conditions. Okay, so let's take an example of a blade of grass. So a blade of grass is an effect of a seed. It's an effect of a seed. The seed transforms into a blade of grass if sufficient conditions exist: the warmth, the light, the moisture. These conditions are themselves causes of the transformation of a seed into a blade of grass. So effects arise from their causes. And therefore, you can deduct causes precede their effects, and effects follow their causes. Simple. They don't happen simultaneously. Let's talk about another example, dinner. If you want something to happen, like dinner, you must gather required causes, don't you? You need to go get groceries. It takes time, causes needs to interact to produce a dinner. It does not occur simultaneously as soon as you throw your groceries on the countertop. Dinner does not come out, right? So imagine anything That's something that produces itself without causes and condition, or its own cause. So what it's trying to say is that all products have the characteristics and they're derived from its causes, and it's not a product of itself. So we know that whatever is a product does not inherently exist. Another one would be a car. So when you look at the parts of the car, none of the parts that make up the car are car itself. The individual parts are not car itself, so it does not exist independently from its part. But when you put causes and conditions, then we put a name that dysfunctional parts and conditions are now a car. So whatever is made of parts like a car does not inherently exist. We're just trying to emphasize the word what inherently exists means versus parts. And then conclusion would be words and concepts like fictional character, like Harry Potter. A fictional character does not truly exist because it depends on words and concepts to exist. I know this is a very dry part of the emptiness, but it is very important to establish that when you are contemplating and when you're analyzing, you need to have something in front of you as an object before you say, I'm going to see if this object, I'm going to refute it if I find that it does not exist. Otherwise, it exists from its own side. So you have to bring something very logical in mind and understand what is it that you're looking at and how are you going to refute it. So they're just trying to give you some examples here to see how what happens is causes and condition and parts, and then a consciousness that labels it. These three things come together. We see a product and we call it, there it is, it's real. What we forget are the causes and conditions, how many parts are involved in it, and that we give it a name to communicate with each other. Because if I told Linda, we'll take a car tomorrow, she has an idea of what we're talking about. That's why conventionally it's important. But when you look at the car as a composite of things, you can see the steering wheel, you can see the wheels, and even the wheel has a rubber, and it has a metal part, it has alloy wheels or not, and that rubber comes from some other tree and sap, and you can go on and on. Everything is causes and conditions that come together. We label it a wheel. That wheel now goes into something, or other parts that are causes and conditions. We label that, and we name it a car, but now car appears as a whole. When I say a car, you don't think of steering wheel. You don't think of the just light in the front, you see a car. And so our mind does that. So the point is, we need to think that when we're thinking about how reality is, even if you intellectualize it, right, you will see that when you see somebody concrete and they're yelling at you, you can very easily neutralize that. Know that this is a mind that has their own concepts, own delusions, and has its own mind and some ignorance that is exaggerated that's doing it. And all of a sudden, you can calm down, or you can present yourself in a better way, or you know that's not going to impact you and affect you the way it has otherwise impacted you, is another way to look at it. Some people may already be in that state of mind. There are a lot of people who are very, very easygoing and just happy all the time. That's a wonderful thing, a wonderful quality. Talk about just an average things that go through and how we concretize things. So this nature is very important, because what creates our chatter in the mind is through ignorance. I will do this. And if we even make up a story, try to go to work late and see the stories you make up. What will you tell your boss? Completely fabricated. Oh, my car didn't start. I had a phone call. My son was sick. We can make up lies in case that, and then you go to work and the boss never asks you. But you created such a story in your mind. We do this all the time, every moment, and then we project that. Don Brown so nicely put the other day on Sunday class, is saying through karma, we have this obscured mind, we create things like concrete, we project things onto things, and we think it's all real. That's the way, this is why we are talking about emptiness. So when you meditate, okay, when you meditate on a 4-point analysis or whenever you meditate, please read those reading materials. They're absolutely fantastic. How to meditate on I. There's a little boring part in it where Lama Zopa Rinpoche calls upon Claudio. Claudio is the name of a guy and says, well, where's Claudio? Who's sitting there? And that kind of stuff. But if you read through it, you'll see some of this, you will picturize this in your mind, you will intellectualize in your mind, and then you meditate on it. Have the object in front of you and look at it and see how it really exists. What are you looking at? How things are. When you're walking around, keep that mind also alive. Make it part of your habit to see things how things are. And also know how you can change that and how our mind creates that. That's the beauty of this. All right. So I will, if we have a time, we'll do the 4-point analysis next time. I wanted to talk about this, but I also, this is the last piece before we go. Oops, it's one doesn't want to stay there. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to keep it there. So let's make the connection here, guys. Just very basic. This covers your class 1, class 2, a little bit of, if you didn't understand anything about how I exist and don't exist and what Dharmakirti said and all this, how our mind conceives things, and okay, just take it easy, no problem. You can read, you can understand. There's a reading material requirement from Pabonka Rinpoche, Liberation in Palm of Your Hand, and the reading materials. It goes through this very nicely, also with examples. And I think it will start to put things together, gel for you. So at least you should know that this teaching comes from Buddha. Hemant, Linda, FPMT didn't make it up. Our Rinpoche has provided this syllabus, these beautiful teachings, and so many people in front of us, and all lineage teachers, scholars, and monks, and Geshe-las have taken time to teach us these things. Nagarjuna, Dharmakirti, all these scholars, so they come from Buddha. How things exist, we need to know the relative existence, how things we see things, and the ultimate nature of things. Keep both in mind at all times. You know, you can still live your life and you can go to work and you can see, enjoy things, but just know how you get entwined and make things up. And just keep that mind open to know how things truly are. So you don't exaggerate the desire, you don't exaggerate your anger or hatred. Matter of fact, you should not have those. Once you understand how everybody is connected, interdependent, and how we exist. Then we don't see the true nature of things. We talked about it, leads to many obstacles, and it results in cycling of samsara. Because we project in our mind, that's who I am, my personal identity. Then I take that with me as a seed in my karma. And guess what environment I'm going to find? The predominant mindset. And then we wonder why we are born and go through this again and again and again. So that's the reason they call the word liberation. You eradicate what Geshe-la calls fundamental confusion that keeps us cycling through samsara. This fundamental confusion of how I truly intrinsically exist, how things intrinsically exist. And ultimately your goal, you saw what Buddha is. He defined omnipotence, omniscience, and your goal is to realize your own potential to become Buddha and enlightened. Have the perfect compassion, wisdom, and power to benefit all. That's the nature of Buddha. The awakened one. You are awakened. You were in this turmoil, and all of a sudden, some clarity comes in your mind. You liberate yourself. You renunciate. You want to renunciate from this cyclic existence. You develop liberated mind. That means you recognize some emptiness. You clean out any afflictions you have, and ultimately you become a Buddha. That is what it is all about. So let's do a quick dedication. Okay, close your, just kind of do a meditative pose, get into your mind, and let's just listen to these words. And now let's conclude with our dedication, beginning with a quote from Lama Tsongkhapa. By pacifying distractions to wrong objects and correctly analyzing the meaning of reality, Please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. And due to these merits, may I quickly attain Buddhahood and lead all living beings, without exception, into the enlightened state. May all living beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all living beings have happiness and its causes. May all living beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all living beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. I will bring this about myself alone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hemant. Is there any specific homework you would like us to do?
I don't know, because we don't talk about homework. I think we are all adults. And when I'm asking sincerely that they read the reading materials that is available, how fortunate to at least attempt to read Lama Tsongkhapa's How to Meditate on Emptiness.
Okay.
What is non-duality? What is the ultimate truth and relative truth? Those at least 2 or 3 readings are there. And if they want to get advanced and really meditate, the liberation in palm of your hand is like meditation. These are actual sessions. They are very powerful. And so I know that we are all busy, but if you take a little time here and there and really contemplate on some of these words, even few things you remember, that how we see things, who am I? What is my nature? What do I need to change and why? And really analyze it, polish it, and when you are convinced truly that this makes sense, then take the next step of practicing it even more and looking into more. But you need to be convinced. We can go on and on. There are many, many books, and the words get wordy and it means so much different here and there. Not to get into that. Take the juice. Because this is a 5-session class, you have to go into details. Where does it come from? What somebody's trying to say, how the logic works, how do you identify? You go through this. But if you walk away and just do a meditation and read through it first, identify what is meditating and analyzing. So there's 2 things. You're placing your mind on an empty nature. On the other hand, when something comes up and you want to truly you're becoming analytical. You see how they exist. What is it? How do I label it? What am I calling it? How does it really exist? Is it there? Or is it my thought? Is it just a label? So if you can do that and read, you've done your homework.
Thank you so much, Hemant.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm going to hang around.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hemant.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Hammett. Good night, and